Welcome to another Wicked Web Wednesdays with me, Chris Davidson. Today's topic is website security. SSL stands for Secure Sockets Layer. Let's not worry too much about that. It's characterized by the URL that you have and whether it begins HTTP or HTTPS. Let's dive straight in. I'm going to put up two examples. We'll compare, contrast between the two, and then we'll look at why it is important to you based on a real life example. Okay, couple of domains. First one begins HTTP. Second begins HTTPS. And here are two URLs that you would recognize. Let's complete those URLs and add a page .com/about. Perfectly reasonable URL. Now, let's say for the moment that you have the top domain here, http:/mydomain.com/about. And you want to convert that domain to HTTPS, as indeed you should do. That would be a good move. Google would be very happy for you to do that. Since 2014, Google has been encouraging people to move from HTTP to HTTPS. And I'm going to cover that particular aspect of how Google is encouraging us to move in another video. I just want to stress the difference between HTTP and HTTPS, and I want to point out a little bear trap that if you're not careful, you'll fall into, and I don't want this to happen to you because it happened to some people I know quite a few years ago now when they updated their website, and it was a real mess for them. Thankfully, I wasn't involved in it, but it wasn't a good story. Now, if you're migrating from HTTP to HTTPS, the critical thing you have to acknowledge is that Google, and any other search engine as well, but round them all up into one word, Google, looks at this complete address and sees it as two different URLs. So Google doesn't just look at this bit, domain.com/whatever, domain.com/whatever. Google looks at the entire URL and says, oh, that's interesting. This domain here, this URL here, is different from this URL here. Now, let's presuppose that you have quite a deal of traffic on this domain, HTTP. You've had this domain for a long time. You've got quite a lot of traffic associated with it, and you've got some good page authority here. If you migrate from HTTP to HTTPS and you don't take care of that traffic, of that page authority, then all Google sees is a new, effectively, what Google thinks is a new domain appearing. HTTPS, it says, oh, new kid on the block. Don't know who they are. I'm going to be a bit cautious about these people, see how they behave themselves for a while until I kind of let them in the club, you know. That's not what you want. You want all of your authority that you built up over the years to be redirected from your HTTP site to your new HTTPS site. Now, you can have that happen, but the way of getting all of that authority transferred is with this vehicle. .301 redirects. Really, really important. This is the critical takeaway from today's video. 301 redirect will redirect the traffic permanently. 301 means permanent redirect. It redirects everything associated with these URLs through to this new domain as far as Google is concerned. So when your HTTPS site comes up, Google says, oh, here's a new site. Oh, I see. All the traffic from over there is being directed across to here. Okay, that's good. Yeah, I understand that. The same people, right, that's fine. Really important point for implementing SSL. Now, the people that I was telling you about a while ago, they had an HTTP domain. Now, this is going back a few years. They had an HTTP domain. They implemented HTTPS. They did not do a 301 redirect, and their site disappeared. Now, they were at the top of Google, at the top of page 1 for the search terms that they were after, and they were very, very, very important search terms that were very competitive, and they got right to the top of Google on that, and then they just disappeared down to the 10th page or something. Absolutely terrible, because nobody took care of this HTTPS redirect. Now, to a large extent, that lesson has been learned. That, as I say, that was a few years ago. And so a lot of the content management systems that you will find in place nowadays will take care of that for you. But the point is, you should know about it, because that might not be the case, and it's something else that you can check on. Going back to last week's video when I was talking about testing, this is the sort of thing that you would want to make sure had been done and had been well thought through and well tested. Okay, so website SSL, moving from HTTP to HTTPS, which you definitely should do if you haven't done already. We'll talk more about why in a future video, but in terms of making the move, make sure that you use a 301 redirect to redirect all the goodness that you have associated with your old HTTP environment to your new HTTPS environment. Excellent. Thank you very much for watching. There will be another video next week, and in the meantime, make sure you have subscribed if you haven't done already, and click on the little bell as well so you get notified when next week's video comes online. Thank you and goodbye.